Hello friends, this is your friend and host of this informational video, Shivam. Today I'm going to cover second half of the best-selling book in public relations, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Before starting, have you seen the first part of this video? If no, then please watch that video first, because it will help you to understand this one. This video will cover third part, how to win people to your way of thinking, and fourth part, be a leader, how to change people without giving offense. Let's begin with third part. When you get involved in an argument, there is only one way under high heaven to get the best of an argument, and that is to avoid it. Yeah, you heard right. By avoiding it, you get the best outcome. 9 out of 10 times an argument ends with each of the contestants more firmly convinced than ever that he is absolutely right. You cannot win an argument. You cannot, because if you lose it, you lose it. But if you win it, you lose it. Why? Well, this lesson of Dale Carnegie's will help you to understand this. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Let me repeat. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You can tell people they are wrong by a look or an intonation or a gesture just as eloquently as you can in words. And if you tell them they are wrong, do you make them want to agree with you? Never. For you have struck a direct blow at their intelligence, judgment, pride, and self-respect that will make them want to strike back, but it will never make them want to change their minds. So why make it harder? If you are going to prove anything, don't let anybody know it. Over 100 years ago, Galileo said, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him to find it within himself." If you are wrong, admit it quickly and empathetically. And that is the third principle of third part of this book. And there's an old proverb also, which says, by fighting, you never get enough, but by yielding, you get more than you expected. Let me repeat. By fighting, you never get enough, but by yielding, you get more than you expected. Suppose you want to change someone's idea or mind, and if you shout on that person, do you think he or she will going to agree with you? No. But one thing is guaranteed, that he or she will shout twice as loud and aggressive than you. So what to do in this type of situation? Sit with that person, discuss and find out the points you both agree on and disagree, and then find a midway where both of you are ready to agree. And remember, here's an old saying of Lincoln: a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. Let me repeat, a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. Get the other person saying yes, yes at the outset. Keep the other person, if possible, from saying no. It is like a movement of a billiard ball. Propel in one direction and it takes some force to deflect it, far more force to send it back in the opposite direction. Most people trying to win others to their way of thinking do too much talking themselves. Let the other person talk themselves out. They know more than about their business and problems than you and I do. So ask them questions, let them tell you a few things. Now I'm not saying that you don't speak. What I'm saying is, let the other person do a great deal of talking. What will you like? Your own idea or an idea handed to you on a silver platter? Most people like to work with their own ideas because it gives them a feeling of importance. If you want others to work with your idea, then you must try this. Suggest them your idea and let them feel that it's their idea actually. How do we feel when someone told us we are wrong without knowing or listening our side of the story? That's what most average person does. They judge others according to their story. If we want others to work wonders with you, then place yourself in their shoes and understand their side also. But remember, do this honestly and don't forget to be sympathetic with the other person's idea and desires. J. Pierpont Morgan's this philosophy will help you understand the next principle. A person usually has two reasons for doing a thing. One that sounds good and a real one. The person himself will think of the real reason. You don't need to emphasize that. So in order to change people, appeal to the nobler motives. If you want attention, all you have to do is dramatization. Show your idea in an interesting and dramatic way. What will you do when you find out your team is not working hard to complete a project whose deadline is in 3 days? To be honest, we criticize or condemn them or maybe fire some of them to get the job done. But do you think this will help you in project? Here's another way to do this. Put a challenge in front of your team, and if they succeed, then reward them. It will give them a desire to achieve and feeling of importance. So guys, that was part 3 of this amazing book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And now before moving to part 4, Be a Leader, How to Change People Without Giving Offense, let's take a quick look at what we have learned so far. In part 1 of this book, we learned 3 fundamental techniques in handling people. First, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Second, give honest and sincere appreciation. Third, arouse in the other person an eager want. In part 2 of this book, we learned 6 ways to make people like you. First, become genuinely interested in other people. Second, smile. Third, remember the name of other person. Fourth, be a good listener. Fifth, talk in terms of other person's interest. Sixth, make the other person feel important. In part 3 of this book, we learned how to win people to your way of thinking. First, avoid an argument. Second, respect other person's opinion. Third, if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Fourth, begin in a friendly way. Fifth, get the other person saying yes, yes. Sixth, let the other person do a great deal of talking. Seventh, let the other person feel that the idea is there. Eighth, see things from other person's point of view. Ninth, be sympathetic with other person's idea and desires. 10th, appeal to the nobler motives. 11th, dramatize your idea. 12th, throw down a challenge. Now let's begin with the final part of this book, part 4, Be a Leader. It is always easier to listen to unpleasant things after we have heard some praise of our good points. To understand this, let's take an example. A dentist who begins the work with Novocaine. The patient still gets a drilling, but the Novocaine is pain killing. An effective way to correct others' mistake is call attention to people's mistake indirectly. In part 1, We have learned that if we tell others their mistake directly, they become defensive and try to protect their self-esteem. And when we feel the mistake indirectly to them, there are more chances that he or she will correct them. Third, always begin by telling your mistakes first because it isn't nearly so difficult to listen to a recital of your faults if the person criticizing begins by humbly admitting that he too is far from impeccable. When a person gives orders to another person, that person loses their pride, feeling of importance, want to be a part of decision, and when a suggestion for improvement is served, we like to take that and work on it. An effective leader asks questions, gives suggestions, instead of giving direct orders. Let me repeat. An effective leader asks questions, gives suggestions, instead of giving direct orders. Letting one save face. What that means? Is it even important? Let's take a look how vitally important that is. Most of the time we ride roughshod over the feelings of others, getting our own way, finding faults, issuing threats, criticizing a child or an employee in front of others without even considering the hurt to the other person's pride. Whereas a few minutes thought, a considerable word or two, a genuine understanding of the other person's attitude would go so far toward alleviating the sting. The French aviation pioneer and author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry wrote, "I have no right to say or do anything that diminishes a man in his own eyes. What matters is not what I think of him, but what he thinks of himself." Let me repeat. I have no right to say or do anything that diminishes a man in his own eyes. What matters is not what I think of him, but what he thinks of himself. Remember, hurting a man in his dignity is a crime. Why don't we use praise instead of condemnation? Let us praise even the slightest improvement that inspires the other person to keep on improving. Praise is like sunlight to the warm human spirit. We cannot flower and grow without it. Remember, we all crave appreciation and recognition, but nobody wants insincerity and nobody wants flattery. If you want to improve a person in a certain respect, act as though that particular trait were already one of his or her outstanding characteristics. Let me repeat. If you want to improve a person in a certain respect, act as though that particular trait were already one of his or her outstanding characteristics. Give them a fine reputation to live up, and they will make prodigious efforts rather than see you disillusionist. Okay, friends, that's it from my side for this amazing book, or I can say an amazing experience by Dale Carnegie. If you liked the video, then you know better what to do next and share as much as possible with your loved ones. I have done it with my loved ones, you guys. For any suggestion, comment box is right downwards. Thank you, love you all, and you are a winner.